What do you feel like is giving you the most challenges right now when prospecting?
Right now, I'm running into a lot of people just saying they're not interested in selling.
By the way, who else is experiencing the same thing? Who else is hearing a lot of people on the phones when you're making your calls that they're not interested in selling? It should be everybody. By the way, 90% of the time, Wes, just think about it like this. 90% of the time, when you call somebody up randomly cold, are they going to, like most of the time, 90+% of the time, at least what we found over a period of time, is that they're not interested, right? And by the way, that's the same thing for anything you sell, Wes. I don't care if you're doing door-to-door window cleaning, if you're doing any, like it doesn't matter what it is, right? Anything you're cold calling on, 90+% of people are not going to be interested. What do you get to work on? What do you think you get to work on when you hear like if that's the biggest challenge, which obviously I can understand that you're going to hear that a lot, and you're going to hear that for the rest of your career, by the way.
Right.
What solves that?
I think providing a little bit of value that could, I guess, entice them into at least considering it.
Okay, what are you thinking? So what can you work on? Because obviously a lot of us get this, right? Like, and I want you to understand, by the way, it's not a problem.
Right.
It's just something that occurs, right? So it's not like it's not something to quote fix, but there are things that you can do to enhance your success rates. What is that? If you know, like think about it like this, you know for an absolute fact that 90% of people are just not interested. Okay. You know this as a fact. Okay. Let's just say, I don't care what you sell. Okay. Let's just say that you're going into a new business. You get into commercial real estate for the first time, and you just know this as a fact that 90% of the people that you speak to are going to say, I'm not interested. What can you do? Not only like mindset shift wise, perception shift wise, work, like the actual thing that you do, what can you do?
Probably just reason with them. I mean, just like, hey, I know you probably get calls like this all the time, just not trying to waste your time. But if you got 2 minutes, let me just see if you'd be interested in this offer I got on my table.
So look, my first thing is like, yeah, John's saying it, make more calls. Like if let's say we're getting into a business together, you and I are starting a business, and we just know that 90% of people are not going to be interested.
Okay.
We did some polling, and we know this as a fact. It's just,
Right,
listen, dude,
game.
let's just focus on the 10%, right? The focus is the 10%, and then finding more of these people. And
Right.
we know that 90% are going to say no. So every time you speak to 10 people, right? 1 for 10, 9 are saying no, and 1's going to say, I'm open to the idea. No one's ever going to say, thank fuck you called me, Wes. I've been dying to sell my property. You know, you're the first commercial agent to ever call me. Thank God, my answers are, my prayers are answered. Let's do something, right? Like, they're not going to be like that. They're going to be like, yeah, I'm open to the idea. Okay, let's focus on the 1.
I will say I did just find that diamond in the rough. Yesterday, I called someone who said I was a blessing in disguise. They've been trying to offload a property. So I found that one guy.
Amazing. I'm just saying, it's not the majority, okay?
No, yeah.
You found the 1% and 1% and 1%. Now, look,
Exactly.
let's just focus on the 10, which is like, okay, so if we know this again to be true, for every 100 calls we make, right, for out of every 100, we're going to have 10 people who might be open, right? And by the way, this is conversations. This is not dials, right? So how many conversations do you have a day?
Easily around 50.
Okay, so you should have
where I kind of set that.
Okay, so I'm saying you should have 5 people a day who are somewhat open-minded to the idea. And by the way, that's going to sound like all different random shit, okay? So that's, that's going to sound like everything from make me an offer, I'm open, what do you think it's worth, right? All of the bullshit, right? It's not like, hey, come list my property for sale.
Right.
So now that you're focused on the 10%, ignore this, by the way. This is just part of the business. Don't let this ever get to you mentally. Like, because this is what fucks people up. They're like, oh, I called it, I called for the last week, and everyone said they're not interested. I only got 1 lead this week. It's in the law of averages, dog. Right? You just spoke to a lot of these people and not these people. Next week, it might be this way. It might be all of a sudden you got 7 leads next week. Just the law of averages. And plus people on vacation, the whole bullshit, Because again, like, listen, when you cold call, by the way, you're on their time horizon, not yours. You can literally just call the person. They could be a perfect person who wants to sell a $20 million property for $10 million, okay? You could have that. They just don't want to sell right now. They want to sell in, February of next year. And you called them right when their mother died. And it's like, we get so like in our heads about like, oh my God, like, like they get freaked out or whatever. It just means you might have called them at the wrong time. So what other challenges are you experiencing? Because I'm gonna go through a bunch of other these in the notes here, but what I want to make sure I like doing this kind of different take here.
Need to talk with a partner or their wife.
Okay, so these are objections, which by the way we can work on for the rest. With objections in sales in general, by the way, for everybody here, okay, a partner spouse objection, by the way, is a very common objection. Like there's only so many different objections that people can have. Partner spouse is one of the biggest ones. And by the way, are you married? I forget.
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if you were going to go buy a house, would you probably talk to your wife about it?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Okay, like so if you're doing any type of big decision, you're probably going to talk to your spouse about it, right? And obviously, if you and I own some real estate together, and somebody called you out of the blue and said, "Hey, would you be open to selling?" Maybe you and I have maybe had a brief chat, like maybe we're open to the idea, but like you're not making a decision without me, would you? No. So it's not of saying I'm not interested, right? It's saying I am actually interested. It's just I need to speak to somebody about our decision definitively before we do something, right? So is this a no?
No.
Correct, right? Like
It's
it's
just
not
a delay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly. Like it's not a no. It's just I need to confirm details before I proceed. It's like we don't get stuck here, right? This is actually a good thing. Oh, let me talk to my partner about it. Now, here's the thing. They also might not be the decision maker. It's like imagine talking to the, let's just say, you can talk about any household, but like in some households, the man makes the decisions, in some household, the wife makes the decisions, right? Like whatever it is, right? Or the final financial decision, and there are some households where like, they got to confirm together. Like, oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to do, right? But sometimes when you're calling, you might get the wrong person on the phone. They're not the decision maker. You might call somebody up who only has 10% equity in the deal. They might be on the LLC, but they only have 10% equity, and they got to talk to the person who has 90% equity. So just don't get so caught up in the partner spouse thing. The question is like, okay, just to be clear, is there any other person who makes decisions besides you and your partner? You want to just get clear on like what the situation is here. Who's really in charge? All right, and like, okay, just out of curiosity, I mean, if you wanted to sell and they didn't, would you still proceed or no? Because you can start going through the same kind of things. Like again, whether you're selling, door to door, or if you're selling, I don't care if you're selling coaching service or anything. Like the partner spouse comes up all the time. This is a very common objection. It's just understanding how to go through it, right? So we can work on that. What other objections do you feel like you're experiencing, or challenges, or anything on the phone? Doesn't need to be just an objection, but we can work through that.
Oh, hey Henry. I'm calling these buildings here in New York City, and a lot of times the owners say that they want to sell, but they don't want to give me a price. And I'm keep getting that, and and it sounds good, but like when I bring it to investors, a lot of times they're like, I don't want to give this guy a free CMA. Like he's got to give me a price. I'm not giving him a free appraisal. Yeah, so I just want to kind of know if there's a way to just pull a price out of them. Do I have to just throw a starter offer on that initial call?
Yeah.
I can't do the numbers as fast as you, but
Sure.
just want to know what to do in that situation because I keep getting that a lot.
You're good, Wes, by the way. You're good. Yeah. So, and because I want to get a bunch of these here. Like, by the way, I appreciate everyone just sharing them. Like, this is the stuff to work on because, right, this is holding us up from doing more deals. I'm not even joking with you, okay? But maybe I don't know how long ago, but many years ago when I was just kind of getting started in the commercial side of the deals, okay, I heard this 3 times in a row in the same day, where this guy was just like, "Make me an offer, give me a price," right? Like, basically was the premise, okay? First 2 guys, I didn't know what to say, but then the third guy, I said, "Fuck it, I'm tired of hearing this." Because I kept getting it, and I just made him an offer. Okay, I just made him an offer, and he wasn't happy with it. But I kind of understood the values. I mean, I was calling smaller multifamily in a town that I was very familiar with, and I knew where my buyer would be, and I just happened to make an offer. He didn't like it, but at least I got feedback. So I was like, I am never again going to be the guy who doesn't just give a number because I don't care. You know what happens with this? It's almost a lose lose. If you don't give him an offer, he's going to be pissed. And if you give him an offer, he's going to be pissed if it's not a gajillion dollars more than what he wants. Since it's a lose-lose, there's only one option that actually gives you feedback and gives you momentum in the deal. It's give him a fucking price. And by the way, any broker who goes, "I'm not giving this guy a free CMA for nothing," is a moron. I'm not telling you to go pull a report and spend like 3 hours going through docs and comps and whatever, which by the way is it's crazy how some people just take an unreasonable amount of time to just pull a report on CoStar. It takes 5 seconds. Okay, it's really not that complicated. You can do it literally less than 5 minutes on your phone. Okay, doesn't have to take too long, so you can send a CMA very quickly. When they say give me a price, give them a price. Do you have 2 minutes? Can I just get a little bit of clarity? And while you're asking questions, just have I have a big piece of paper right in front of me, and I take a lot of notes while I'm writing. Right? I can just have my calculator up and do some calculations, and I'm going to try to do all of it while we're on the phone. Right? I mean, that's why a lot of what the underwriting training is for. So like, it's practicing that muscle to make sure that you can give them a price.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of that I got to get over that fear of like them saying, "Oh, screw you," because the offer's too low.
It is always going to be too low, dude. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the property. I don't know what's going on other than the information you gave me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can even tell them, listen, it's a lose-lose, my friend. You can. I don't care what you like. It's just being transparent. Listen, like if I gave you a price over the phone, you're going to hate me either way. And the reason why you'd even hate me is because I could give you a price that you'd be thrilled about, over the moon about, but I wouldn't be able to transact on it because I wouldn't have somebody who would actually pay you that. Right? So it's just like at the same time, like this is why I just give starter offers because you have to take the emotion out of it. You have to do this with absolute zero emotion. And you have to practice that because I'm telling you right now, you're going to be told to go fuck yourself on occasion when you give somebody an offer. But it's actually, in my personal opinion, now again, I could just be, obviously a lot of you guys just know me and been with me for a long time. You guys, a lot of you know me. It's like maybe I'm more direct than most people, right? Which I would say is probably accurate. I would just rather know today versus months down the road, weeks down the road, years down the road. Are we making money? Like, are we going to transact or not? I just want to know. When you give a starter offer, okay? So I'm just going to do here, right? When you give a starter, the reason why I love it, which by the way, you could be off. I've been off before, okay? It is okay. You don't have to come up with like the perfect crafted offer, Brian. I want to be clear, okay? Like, so this is not about perfection. The purpose of the underwriting training is to teach you how to get a little bit more dialed on that number, okay? And practice how to get there as fast as you can. But starters are just for one thing, and what is it?
Just to get a price out of them.
Yeah, feedback. I want to counter. That's it. The whole purpose of a starter is just to get, do I have something called a CP? We've said this before. Do I have a clear path to transacting with this individual? Right? The counter is going to give me an idea. Do I have a clear path to making money together or not? And way too many times, we get stuck on the give me a price as an objection when it's like you could just tell the guy a number and you will have everything you need to know about this situation completely figured out. Isn't it better, like, and again, I know you're married with a kid. Wouldn't it be better if your wife just told you what was on her mind versus just being upset all day? She's just saying, give me a price. And you're not giving her a price. It's the same thing. It's just like, she's just going to be upset all day for no reason when you could just figure it out right now. I'd rather just know right now, right? So next time someone says, give me a price, it's like, okay, listen, I can get you a price. I just need 2 minutes. Can you answer a few questions real quick so I can get you a number? And just go to it. Because I'm telling you, what happens is this. Most of the time, it's really only, and maybe it's going to happen, and obviously I'm trying to be a little bit more, I'm going to chunk it down into like 3 different buckets. It's not perfect, but I'll give you an understanding, okay? One of 3 things is going to happen. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 are probably, or 1 and 2 are infinitely more common than 3. 1 is he tells you to fuck off, okay? Which is just a completely unreasonable response, but you're going to get this. And this is like, and by the way, F off is not just actually the words F off. It is, it's not giving you a counter. It's, you don't know what you're talking about. The problem here is that we get really emotional about this. They start freaking out. They hang up on us, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's read between the lines a little bit, by the way, Brian. If someone told you, like, you give them an offer, you deal with some multifamily deals, right? If you had a 10-unit deal in an area that you know, and you offer them maybe 20% under what market value would be, which would be a fair starter offer, and he tells you, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a waste of time, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about this person?
Not serious. They're not ready to...
Yeah, probably not super serious about selling, right? Because if someone was really serious about selling everybody, would the person get really that upset at you? Because I own a lot of property. People make me offers all the fucking time on my properties. I've never once told somebody to fuck off. That's ridiculous. It's like, this is not even in my repertoire to even respond to something. I don't care. I've been offered ridiculous numbers, things that would actually infuriate me, right? And I just laugh at them. I'm like, I'm not sure where you're getting your numbers from, right? But I will never respond this way because I am serious about selling any one of my properties for a fair and reasonable price. Everything's for sale. So again, these bucket of people, you can't get emotional, but it's just realizing they're not interested. And by the way, you can even have some people where sometimes they say something in between the conversation of being so upset, where these people even sometimes, I will cold call them back using another phone number with a different name, or have another one of my team members, and I'll call them back a week later. And I'll offer them a little bit more money. And it's okay, because by the way, you want to understand, everybody, you can't screw it up so bad where they'll never do a deal with you if you brought them the right price. If you randomly call this person up and offered them $2 million, they really wanted $3 million, and you offered them $5 million, would they accept if it was a true offer, wouldn't they do business with you?
Of course.
Of course. So everyone's like, oh, I ruined the relationship. No, we just get them an offer they would agree to, and they would do business with... They would do business with anybody, okay? Like, it doesn't matter. So, anyways, that's 1. 2, okay, which also happens incredibly commonly, which is a high, very high counter. There's only so many responses to somebody when you give them a starter offer. Not happy about it, obviously. Number 2 is a high counter. Very commonly happens, okay? Which means that you make them an offer of $2 million, let's say. They say, no, I could never sell for $2 million. Price is way too low. I need at least 5, or, you offer them 5 and they want 20. Something ridiculous. What happens here when you get this type of response?
They're not serious. They're not serious to transact.
Sure, one option. Second, what is another thing?
We come up a little higher price.
Okay, we can come up a little bit higher in our price. Okay, what else?
Can we give them the numbers and show them that it's not worth that?
I agree. Exactly, right? Maybe a little bit more education here, right? This is where everyone talks about value, providing comps, right? Actually giving them an understanding. Maybe they actually don't understand what it's worth. That could be true as well, right? They also could just have absolutely zero interest in selling as well. And figuring that out is the point of asking questions at this point, right? Like, but at least you got a counter. We like that. What else?
Could we ask them like how you came up with that number, for example?
Absolutely. That's a great question to ask, right? You offer them 5 million. You think the property's worth 7 or 8. They go, I want 20. Okay, can I ask you how you came up with your number? Well, we really don't have to sell it. Like it's sort of like we run our business there, and I don't really want to move our business. And I've got this all the time. Like I have my business here. I don't want to, if I would need enough money to retire. So they're adding their retirement fund to the value of the real estate, which by the way makes sense to me. By the way, that makes sense. They don't want to sell the real estate and have to move their operation that they have. Think about having 60 employees in a property with 30,000 square feet. You got 60 employees there. You're running your business. You're making a couple $1,000,000 a year in your business. And someone says, hey, do you want to sell I don't want to move my stuff. I got a really successful business, blah, 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 right? Like, they don't understand they could just do a lease back.
Yeah.
No idea. They're not in real estate.
When we do, like, I have a situation like that where they want me, they said they don't have the exact numbers. They're waiting for their wife to get back. And he's saying, I got a lot of offers around 3 million. I don't know if it's really worth that much because I don't have the numbers. When I give an offer, would I go a little bit below the value, or do I give them at their value?
Okay. Always. Okay. Starter offers, which again we'll review on the training piece. If you want to ask questions about that. But starters must always be maximum 20% under, maximum 20% under market. Because the purpose of this is because you must be able to provide an offer at this price. I never want to give somebody a number at which I couldn't provide an actual offer at. That makes no sense. Because then I become one of those brokers who go, oh yeah, you want 10 million? Yeah, we can list it for 10 million. I can get you 10 million all day long. You're lying. You were just lying out of your, you're lying out of your ass. Like, it makes no sense. I never will talk to a client that way. If I ever give someone a price, it means I can transact at that price. Or at least I have a very high likelihood of understanding that I believe that I can sell it at that price. Everyone's getting an understanding of 1 and 2. These are very common responses. Now, number 3, which is very, which was a lot less likely, okay, which is the consideration. They consider it. They're actually considering your starter offer. There's some type of consideration to your starter offer. They're a little bit more open-minded. Consideration, open-mindedness. They're around your price. They give you some kind feedback. They're like, actually, that's sort of where I thought I'd be. When this happens, this is where my team and I go, we might be wholesaling it. I might be buying it, right? Like in this range, we start thinking that way, where this might be towards a different multi-lens strategy where we're not going to just be listing this for sale, brokering this 100% of the time. Like, this immediately gets now pivoted to saying, hey, let me spend more time on this deal, because I just gave him a starter. It wasn't like I underwrote the whole entire thing, and really broke down the internal rates of return and the cash on cash and the whole 9 yards. I just gave him a quick starter. He's actually considering it. I need to go down, do more due diligence on this property, right? I'll send my guys to go tour the property immediately, go check this property out, I want a rent roll, I want financials, I want the whole 9 yards of ASAP. Where once they have any type of consideration, this is where we immediately go straight to due diligence, and we go, hey, in the next 24 hours, to minimum, I try to be as fast as I can, okay, because speed kills all deals. I want to get this person a letter of intent literally within an hour. I want to do all my due diligence within 24 hours, and I want to make sure that, like, hey, is this something we can move on? Because if someone's that serious about selling for 20% under market, I'm telling you right now, half my income comes from this. A very large percentage of my income comes from this. Only because obviously we're wholesaling deals, like, again, we don't do, hundreds of those a year. We might broker, 60, 70, 80 properties a year right now. We wholesale maybe, 10, but in 10 deals, I make as much money as the 60 broker deals. So it's like, there's so much money to be made here. So when I hear the consideration, I go, we need to move on this. So you just need to be prepared to go, okay, I need to do some super due diligence. Maybe you get me involved and ask some questions and try to make sure, I want to make sure I help you guys convert these, as many times as you can. But I want you to understand, this is where all the money's made, right in the between. Obviously, because not like, this is very few. This is going to be like, 1% of the time. I mean, maybe it's more than that, 5% of the time, but it's rare, okay? My point is, these people are 12-month campaigns, 90-day campaign people, right? These are follow-ups. These people, or this in-between response, okay, is where all the money's made. Guys, we have like $2 billion worth of product that is available off-market of people who want a little bit too much money. Everyone gets those people. We have plenty of that. I'm not saying we're going to sell $2 billion this year. We're not even going to be close. Okay, we sell about 1/10 of that. $250 a year. Probably. We're trying to trend to 400 this year, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do 3 and change. But guys, like, the point is, all the money's made in this this here. But this is why we give the starter offers. I just want to know, where do we sit. That's all I want. I want to have an understanding, where do we sit right now.